The British Empire, once the largest in history, crumbled due to a combination of economic decline, nationalist movements, military overstretch, and shifting global power dynamics. 1. Economic weakness after World Wars. World War I, 1914-1918. Britain emerged victorious but heavily in debt, relying on loans from the U.S. World War II, 1939 to 1945. Britain suffered massive destruction and economic strain, further increasing its reliance on American financial aid, e.g. the Marshall Plan. The war drained Britain's resources, making it impossible to maintain its global empire. 2. Rise of nationalism and independence movements. Colonies across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean began demanding self-rule. India, 1947. Led by figures like Mahatma Gandhi, India's independence was a major turning point, weakening British control over other colonies. Africa, 1950s to 1970s. Countries like Ghana, 1957, Kenya, 1963, and Nigeria, 1960, gained independence after resistance against British rule. Caribbean and Middle East, many territories also sought autonomy, leading to decolonization. 3rd, U.S. and USSR opposition to colonialism after World War II. The world was divided between two superpowers, the United States and the USSR. Both opposed European colonialism, the United States for moral and economic reasons, the USSR to spread communist influence. The United Nations, formed in 1945, also pressured Britain to decolonize. 4th Suez Crisis, 1956, a major blow. Britain, France, and Israel invaded Egypt to regain control of the Suez Canal after Egypt's President Nasser nationalized it. The US and the USSR forced Britain to withdraw, proving that it was no longer a global superpower. This event symbolized Britain's decline and loss of influence. 5. Economic and political shifts in Britain. After World War II, Britain focused on rebuilding its economy rather than managing an empire. The welfare state was introduced, with healthcare, NHS, and social programs requiring funding, making colonial control less of a priority. British public opinion shifted against maintaining costly colonies. 6. The Winds of Change speech, 1960. British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan acknowledged that African nations were pushing for independence. This marked Britain's acceptance that decolonization was inevitable. 7. Hong Kong handover, 1997, the final chapter. Hong Kong, Britain's last major colony, was handed back to China in 1997, marking the symbolic end of the empire. The British Commonwealth replaced direct rule, allowing former colonies to maintain loose ties with Britain. Conclusion: the British Empire collapsed due to financial struggles, growing nationalist movements, international pressure, and changing priorities within Britain itself. The decolonization process was mostly peaceful, but sometimes violent, e.g. Mau Mau uprising in Kenya. By the late 20th century, Britain had transitioned from an empire to a modern nation-state with global influence through diplomacy rather than direct colonial rule.